Hi, my name is Sissy, and I want to welcome you to my show, Getting Healthy with Sis. I am married to my hunky husband, Matt, and together we own a fitness and nutrition coaching studio in Lakeland, Florida called Restoration Fitness and Nutrition. We have 2 little boys, and I've been a nutrition coach for 5 years, helping countless people to revamp their lives and see amazing results implementing one healthy habit at a time. My passion is to help women just like me realize they don't have to be a victim to poor eating habits and poor health. Instead, through proper education and empowerment, they can take control of their health and live the healthiest and happiest life possible. As you tune into my show, I promise you're going to learn new things about your health. You're going to be inspired to take action towards your goals, and you're going to have a ton of fun along the way. All right, hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Getting Healthy with Sis show. I am here with my friend and fellow Lakeland business owner, Wendy Johnson. If you're watching this episode and you see her face, you might recognize her, especially if you're like a frequent flyer down at the farmers market in Lakeland. But Wendy is the owner of Krazy Kombucha, which is a local kombucha brewery. And I wanted to have her on the show because as a nutrition coach, I am a firm believer in the importance of having fermented foods in our diet. Mm-hmm. And so I wanted to kind of get her expert advice and I guess expertise on the topic of kombucha. I know that it's kind of been more of a fad maybe over the past 5 to 10 years. We see it in the grocery stores, but we're like, should I drink this? What is it? Why? All those sorts of things. So I wanted to kind of get her take on it, how she started the business, why, benefits she's seen in her own life and the lives of her customers.
Yes.
And just get to know her a little bit more, and also just plug her business. So if you're local to Lakeland, check her out. She's got the tap room on South Florida and Dixieland, and then you guys are at the farmers market every Saturday in downtown Lakeland.
Yes.
Beautiful. But before we start, Wendy was so kind to bring me some kombucha. So what flavor do I have here?
So this is our brand new flavor. It is what we call rosé.
Okay.
Actually, customers named that.
Okay.
And so we went with it. And it is our organic strawberry, white grape, and rose petal.
Nice. Okay.
So
So I've never tried it.
Yeah,
so
tell us what you think.
I'm going to try it on air here. That's good. It's very good. I like it. Doesn't quite taste like rosé wine, but kind of.
Yeah.
It's a color.
Yeah, we do.
I love it.
Yeah,
It's great.
We do get that. Some say, oh, I do kind of get that little bit of ferment in there that it kind of reminds them.
Yeah.
But, yeah, not totally like rosé.
It's delicious. I love it.
Thank you.
I do enjoy kombucha myself, but I feel like what Wendy brews is very palatable. It's not too strong.
That's a good word. We get subtle, light, less vinegary, or burn, as you can get in the store-bought.
Yeah. So thank you for bringing this to me, and I'll be sipping on it as we record today. But let's start out by kind of hearing a little bit about your background in health and wellness and what led you to starting Krazy Kombucha.
Okay, well, let's see, probably before I had children, let's say probably we're going on 28 years ago, before my oldest was born. I was a nurse, so I was working many different places. I worked in the hospital, I've worked in clinics, I've worked in home health, and so things kind of change, as you know, when you start having babies and adding, siblings as well, that it was harder, to work in that, and that I wanted to be home with my kids.
Right.
And so, flash forward to, them growing up and leaving home, that's kind of brought me into something totally different that I ever even went to school for. And that was the older two decided to join the military. And I was like, I need to be busy because you worry about your kids. It doesn't matter if they're tiny babiys to when they're 18 and they leave home. Yeah. They're part of you. They're gonna, you're always gonna be concerned.
Yes.
You want to know where they are and what's going on with them. So a little bit about what I was doing then is, of course, I was a nurse. I worked in those places, clinics, many atmospheres, but I started working into more holistic or more you call alternative offices. So I worked for an acupuncture here in Lakeland, which he's great, Dr. Chip, and I also worked for a chiropractor, and I loved it. I was like, these were things that I'm like alternatives to, health care rather than drugs, medication, which they're
supplementary.
Yes, those are reasons to have those things, but I'm like, could the alignment of your spine affect certain things?
Sure.
I think absolutely. So I learned, it was about 3 or 4 years that I did that, and I learned so much, and I was exposed to kombucha then.
Okay.
I also decided in that time that I was like, I just love, my passion is just wellness, and I say holistic wellness, that is just things that you can add to your health, maybe an already healthy lifestyle, or if you're just like, I don't know what to do, I know I need to make changes, just simple things you can add to your life daily that make a difference. And so I was reading all about foods, and I was a proponent of what we're putting in our mouth is so important, and that how am I going to do this, and how do I get my still teenage sons to put something good in their mouth, which was very hard. And it led me to becoming certified in holistic nutrition, and then of course learning about fermented foods, whole real foods, cutting out processed foods, all the things. And so I was exposed to fermented foods then, and I'm like, sure, I know sauerkraut's good for you, and kimchi, I don't know if I can do that. That was my original thoughts. And then I had my first taste of kombucha, and I'm like, you're telling me I just have to drink this and it's going to help my gut issues? Because at that point in time, I had gone, all of you, if you know AJ, that's my best friend, she is totally the fitness part of this friendship, and I'm the more of the nutrition part. I did a lot of her fitness classes as well as her and I would run, and I would say we over-exercised. I was running so much, and my gut was just a mess, and I didn't know why. I'm like, I'm eating well, I'm exercising, but why? And so kombucha helped me in that. The first time. So the first time I had kombucha was actually our ginger kombucha, which I know I'll explain that because it was a chiropractor that originally exposed me to kombucha. And I, had a cup, and I was like, then I'm not trying to be gross or anything, but I did work on the digestive flora, so it helped me. My problems were constipation as well as just eating well, my stomach would just hurt, and I'm like, what is happening? And so I was able to drink actually one serving of kombucha, and the next day I felt great. And it helped me. Awesome. So I went back and was like, give me a case. And I started drinking it, and of course he filled growlers. We started filling growlers, and then I got my parents on it, and it took a little while, and I got AJ on it, and everybody had, it may have not been the same, but had benefit that they had immediately by drinking raw, real kombucha. So fast forward, we ended up, I worked there forever. I say forever, I felt like, for a couple years. And then I kind of got away from kombucha, and all my symptoms started coming back. And I'm like, I need kombucha, and I would buy stuff in the store, and I'm one of those people, if it's good for me, I can make myself drink it. I'm going to drink it because it's good for me. I get that from my grandmother. And it just didn't do the same thing.
Okay, interesting. Okay.
So I reached out to him because he since had kind of stopped doing, the business, I think, had been closed down for almost a year. I contacted him because he moved to Tampa, started his own practice. And I'm like, I need this. Tell me, where are you? And he's like, I'm not doing anymore, but I'll sell you the business. And I'm like, I'm a nurse. I don't know how to run a business. But I'm like, I need it. So that's where I kind of got into Catapult, which is a startup company here. What I call reestablished the business, added my branding to it, my dragonfly, and added, my take on it. And here we are, 6 years. Well, from the day we set foot at the farmer's market, actually getting all of our permits and everything that we needed to sell at farmer's market, June was 6 years.
Okay, that's so awesome.
So I've been doing it about 8 because I did my own trying to make kombucha, and it was it was a mess at home. Making your own kombucha is kind of like feeding children, and I was like, I don't feel like it tonight, and you know, it's involved. It's not that you can't. You can make it very inexpensively, but then when you try to flavor it and try to get it bubbly and fizzy, there's some technique there. Yeah. So that's how we came to how I got into kombucha, because ultimately I was a customer. Right. Ultimately, and how it helped me. Right. Help, talking family members into do it, help them. And then being able to have this kind of drop in my lap that I'm like, well, there we go. Right. Mama's getting busy with building their own business. Yeah. When the older two left for boot camp. Yeah, little did I know the oldest one went, and little did I know the next year the second one would go to the Marine Corps, and they're thriving.
A little baby to
it did
nurture.
I always need somebody to take care of. Yes. I think that's kind of, if you look at nursing or nurses altogether, they're caretakers and they need to take care of others. But I'm also at that age where I'm trying to learn how to take care of me for the first time. Not that, what I mean? You take care of a family and you're looking out for everybody. You analyze everything. And then now when they're gone, you're like, all I got left is me. I gotta take care of me now. And kombucha is a big one that I finally realized that's what that helped me. Right. Going back to that one little thing that I could add to my lifestyle that was going to help me. Yeah. Kombucha, and then now. Right. Fermented foods has helped that in digestion.
That's so good. So when you were sharing your testimony, your personal testimony, I was thinking back to a client that I have been coaching for several years, and it's interesting because even in my own life, I'll go through. Lord knows I've been pregnant, not pregnant, a bazillion times over the last 6 years, and so, it's always like, where am I now? I just was pregnant. I just had a baby. I'm not pregnant. Just all of it. So, but even myself, I have gone through times where, say I've had my baby, I am okay. Let's get back to what does Sissy need? What do I need to be eating? Let's focus in on Sissy. I've got some capacity and bandwidth there. And I will really clean, really clean my diet up. Really. Cut out dairy, cut out sugar, cut out gluten, just whole foods. And through my life, as I have gone into times where I've really cleaned up, I actually deal with some constipation. It's very interesting. It's removing those things can kind of stop me up. Well, adding in fermented foods, obviously, it really can help, and it does help. But I had a client who she was doing the same thing. For some medical reason, she needed to really narrow down. And she was like, Sissy, I hate this because I am
doing everything that
I can't go to the bathroom. I'm eating really well, but I can't go to the bathroom. And so I was like, listen, this is what we need to do. I want you to have 1 serving of fermented foods every day. So I sent her to the grocery store, and I was like, these are some better brands of kombucha, which we will hit on that in a second, because this girl was in Georgia. Here's some, kimchi, sauerkraut. Here's some good brands here. Kefir. I was like, I want you to just grab some of this stuff, have 1 serving a day. And within a week, she was like, she was like, I'm good. I'm better. I'm better just having some fermented foods every day. So it really does help. So if you're someone that's listening and you're like, I definitely deal with that, adding in fermented foods is really good. And we'll hit on kind of what kombucha does and even other fermented foods.
Yeah, and a thought that I was just having when you said that, because I tend to put puzzle pieces together, what you're saying, what I said that was my experience, her experience, is that when we think we want to do things so right, there's stress involved in that, because we're going, if she had a health issue, you have a new baby that you're trying to take care of in a home and take care of yourself, because if you're not your best self, you can't take care of your home. That the common denominator is stress in there, and some
Yes.
all females at one point can
Yes.
generate stress in
Yeah.
whatever we're trying to do.
Right.
And that right there, stress increases cortisol,
Yeah.
puts on belly fat, or even they even did a study in college students about high stress, that where when your stress level spikes because of an exam, because of a stressful thing going on in your life, relationship, job, your the cortisol kills good bacteria in the gut.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that's where you will start feeling that bloating, that, I say stress. It could be emotional stress.
Yeah.
It could be physical stress over exercising. When I say that, I was running marathons then and still never understood nutrition when I would put my body under that kind of stress. And all of it would result in, look at all that I did, but why am I still not where I want to be? And it was always gut related.
Wow.
And so those are things in hindsight
good.
that I can see is when we're stressing out about that.
Right.
That going back to what you say, being extra clean and doing those things, it can all come to fruition, but right
affects
here
our mind, which
it
affects our gut,
yes.
because the gut,
Yes.
the gut,
Second brain.
yes,
Yep.
gut
Stomach
brain
is
axis.
yes.
So tell us, for our listeners who are just like, okay, I just need to know, like, what is this kombucha? What makes it healthy? How does it work? How do you brew it? Like, tell us, like, what is it?
Okay.
Where do you start? How do you make it? And why does it do what it does in our bodies?
Okay, so kombucha ultimately, and I say this probably about 50 times on a Saturday at the market, kombucha is a fermented tea that contains a live probiotic called it grows from a SCOBY. That is SCOBY.
Sounds like scab.
Yes, or Scooby Snacks. I hear it all. Symbiotic culture of bacteria and yeast. That's what a SCOBY is.
Okay.
And so
you
when
start
we
with tea.
Yes.
Black tea.
So we do a blend. That is something that we kind of add when we reestablished.
Okay.
My heart is that I'm brewing the healthiest product possible.
Good.
In my understanding of what kombucha and fermented food is.
Right.
So we do a blend of black tea, oolong tea, green tea, white tea, all because those have such good antioxidants and things that also is healthy. So every step of the way, and what I'll tell you is the products and the ingredients that I say product to make our product, the ingredients that we use, I think are so important why people love our kombucha so much.
Yes.
So we do a blend. All of our flavors, the basis of the tea is that blend for the extra antioxidants. Okay. And then our kombucha also has 3 stages of fermentation. Okay. Which, if we want to talk about sugar, I can lead into why we do that. So first stage is I just feed our SCOBY. Okay. Which is our culture, which is in our tanks, which also I'm kind of squirreling, but our tanks are all glass contained. I also believe that is why ours taste differently than maybe some of the ones in the store is in that first ferment, which is we do anywhere from 7 to as far as sometimes 20 days of ferment in that first stage. Okay. And what that is I'm feeding the SCOBY, which the SCOBY is sitting in the tanks with the starter tea, which is from the last culture or the last batch. We have a bit of that starter tea with the SCOBY. Then I feed it the sweetened tea, which is good old southern sweet tea with organic cane sugar. We use the least amount of sugar possible, and I've played with it to make sure we're still getting the goodness from this process, but not extra sugar is ever added. Yeah. So we've already cut ours down. Typically, if you look at a recipe and you look it up, they'll say a cup of sugar per gallon. Okay. And we've cut it to at least 3/4 of a cup so far. Okay. And we can still get the same result, same pH, same everything. So we love to be able to cut that down as much as possible. Yeah. So it then sits. I put that in there. We backfill our tanks with what is the best water, which is reverse osmosis water. Okay. And then it ferments for, like I said, 7 to 20 days. That's what we do. Now, the reason how I know it, as here in Florida, it's very hot. Sometimes it'll ferment faster. As it's colder, it'll ferment slower.
Okay.
I'm testing it as we go
Yeah.
for low pH and, of course, alcohol content.
Okay.
After that's the first stage.
Okay.
Then once it gets to that level where I like it to be, which I typically can taste it, and I know exactly when it's converted that sugar to what's beneficial in kombucha: acetic acid, gluconic acid, and the digestive enzymes. That's what we're trying to do, is make that SCOBY comfortable and give it all that it needs so it can convert that sugar to and take in the properties from the tea to grow that next culture, because it grows a new culture every batch to leave us the good digestive enzymes and acids.
Okay.
That essentially the next description of what kombucha is a fermented tea, but also a flavored vinegar is what kombucha is.
Okay.
So a lot of people will get that bite and they kind of scrunch their nose, because that is that craft, that bite. It is vinegar, which is gluconic acid, acetic acid.
Okay.
That's the first ferment. Second ferment, we gravity fill kegs, which we do 5-gallon kegs. That's when I flavor it with the organic, whether like yours is the strawberry. We juice the organic strawberries and then the white grape and then steep the rose petals for that flavor. And then this one is our holiday one, which is our pumpkin pie, which has real pumpkin puree and pumpkin pie spice and a little bit of organic apple.
And you guys, that's one thing I love about y'all is you guys actually you juice your own organic fruit and... Right?
We do as much as possible. Some
Yep.
things are seasonal, some things we can't. Sometimes I have to. I have a great company that I'm able to get from Nature's Foods that I can get frozen berries when I can't get them, locally.
Yeah.
So, and then some of our juices are fresh pressed, but high quality. We really try to use things like Lakewood and Nudson's that are all organic.
Yeah.
Not a lot of extra ingredients in it.
That's
so,
cool.
so that's
how you flavor it.
Yes.
And you guys have at any given time, 10 or 15 different
We do. Well,
flavors?
on tap at our tap room, we hold 19 flavors.
Yeah.
We also do organic cold brew, which is something separate and different of why we have that. But yes, at least 19 flavors on tap. At the farmer's market, we carry about 8 because it's quite a haul to bring those kegs down there.
Yeah.
And we rotate them. So
Okay.
you can try different flavors even at the farmer's market.
Okay.
And then the third ferment, because we can go really deep on that, third ferment is... Oh, that second ferment where we flavor, we actually let it sit at room temperature for another 12 to 24 hours, depending on the flavor.
Okay.
And then it goes into cold storage for about 3 weeks. So the process of this that we're drinking here takes about 4 to 5 weeks.
Wow.
To get to the place we like it.
Wow.
pH is good. It's got that nice bite, but not, burn of apple cider vinegar.
Yes.
But that third ferment, I think, is so important to letting the culture just eat up what little bit of sugar is left. Okay. And then what sugar is left in our kombucha is pre-digested, is essentially what it is. The fermentation breaks down what sugar is left to the point where you're burning it as energy, not storing it.
Okay.
So we have several customers that are diabetic.
Yes.
This is low glycemic.
Okay.
And do you want me to tell the story that I told you about?
Yeah, share that testimony.
We had a brand new customer. I think it was a friend or maybe even a partner had come up, and she was. A lot of times this happens. They come up and they love it and they want whoever that is with them to taste it, but they're always like, I don't think so. I don't want to. And I believe it was maybe a husband or boyfriend. And he was kind of standing back and he's like, no, I'm diabetic. I can't have it, because essentially everybody thinks kombucha and they think sugar. I can't have it.
Yes.
And I started to interact with him. I said, you're diabetic? And he said, yes. He goes, I'm really trying to, which a lot of people are really trying to cut back on sugar.
Oh, yeah.
I'm included in that.
Yeah.
And I said, our kombucha is considered low glycemic. And I asked him more questions. I told him about some testimonies. And he's like, okay. He goes, I would like your ginger. And I was like, wow, but good choice. That's our best seller. And he's like, and I didn't know this, but he had his glucose on a monitor on his phone. And he's like, I'm going to drink this and I'm going to come back and tell you what my numbers are. And I said, please do. I want to know. I said, I've only heard all of these testimonies that it doesn't spike the diabetic blood sugar. I would love to see this. So he leaves, and I was like, I don't know if I'll see him again. But in about 45 minutes, he came back, and that's when I found out he had the app, and he held up his phone, and he's like, his blood sugar was like 103, and I was like, what was it before you drank it? And he said, which around 100 is great.
Yeah.
And he said, I was 107. He goes, it came down 4 points.
Wow.
After drinking it and walking around for 45 minutes. And of course I was like, that's a win.
Awesome.
That's a win. I'll take
so
it.
Good.
And so you could see it on his face. Like, I wasn't going to do it because the initial thought of it has sugar in it.
Yes.
But what fermentation does to sugar and caffeine, because a lot of people won't drink kombucha because of caffeine, because it's made from tea.
Yeah.
Again, the fermentation process breaks that down considerably.
Okay.
To the point where you're not, I'm jumping to caffeine. I'm very, sensitive to caffeine.
Okay.
But kombucha doesn't because of the fermentation. It's about maybe a third of the amount of a cup of coffee of what kombucha is. Okay. So still people won't do it because they're highly sensitive. But being highly sensitive, my sister, very sensitive, where it makes her sick almost, can drink kombucha and it doesn't cause that for her.
That's so cool. I love it. Picture this with me. You're sitting down to make your grocery list for the week, and you're stumped on what healthy items you can add to your list that are going to fuel your body while helping you to reach your fat loss and body composition goals. You want some easy go-to items to stock in your fridge and pantry that you know will increase your health while decreasing your waistline. Well, I have the solution for you. I have created 3, that's right, I said it, 3 amazing shopping guides for Aldi, Sam's Club, and Costco. So if you're someone who frequents these grocery stores, you can download these lists for free, and I promise they'll guide your shopping experience in a spectacular way. So if you're ready to download these lists now, you can go to gettinghealthywithsis.restorationfitnesslkld.com. I'll say it again so you can write it down. That's gettinghealthywithsis.restorationfitnesslkld.com. So thanks for sharing that testimony about the sugar. I know that's something that as a nutrition coach, people have asked me about that. Now, would you say that you can vouch for other brands, like if they do store-bought, that it's the same with the sugar issue, or yours, for sure with yours?
Yes.
You can speak for yours because
of the process that I do.
Right.
I don't know their process, but if you are, analyzing food labels, which is important to do, and I'm learning to do that. I would say still by far GT. They're like the leading brand in kombucha, and they are still raw, to my knowledge. Okay. I always say when you look in the ingredients, you can see raw culture in there, and it's considered unfiltered, meaning they don't filter. See there, the good SCOBY and product is still there. As ours, you'll see sediment and you'll see some things floating in there. And I always, tell our customers, don't be alarmed. It's the good stuff. And some companies will filter it, and so sometimes that takes out that culture. Okay. I mean, depending on how finely they do that. But you want to look for unfiltered raw kombucha. Okay. But a little bit about store-bought kombucha from what I understand is a lot of companies have to pasteurize it because it will, when it's put under, like they cap it off and there's no oxygen, it will eventually explode. Depending on how long it's sitting on the shelf, how long in transit to the store, all these things, you don't know how old it is. Now, old sounds bad, but in fermentation, that's good. Fermented foods takes time and almost the long. There's our catchphrase: the older it gets, the better it gets. The older it ferments, the better it gets. And so, again, not sure about the brands in the store. That I know GT, like I said, that one, because you can see it on their label. Okay. Other ones that are pasteurized will kill off the true raw culture. Yeah. But then they add in. There's usually a number. You'll see a number, which means they've added a probiotic to that
So it didn't
product.
get the probiotic because of the fermentation, or maybe it's the pasteurizing has killed it.
Yes. So that's the idea, is they have to kill that because it would. So kombucha is alive, so it's going to continue to eat what sugar is in that product, in that liquid, until there's no more, and then it's pure vinegar.
Yeah.
Which is higher than like regular vinegar, like it is. And so a lot of people will use that for like salad dressings and other cooking things. Okay. So it is good, kombucha vinegar. But, you know, when you're drinking it as a beverage, you don't quite want that, but that's where you're going to get that burn, because it's either that is their process or it has sat there long enough that it's going to get more acidic. Kombucha is acidic, but healing. I know we could go on what is acidic, and people think acidic is bad. Yeah. But when it comes to vinegar and true lemon and things like that, that's healing and cleansing for our body. Yeah. But also going back to you know, mass-produced brands. I have a few that I love. Like I believe it's Dr. Brew. They used to do a apple cayenne lemon. It was wonderful. It was very light though, and that's what people say, because your flavors are so bright and so you can taste it. And I said, well, we use quality ingredients. I also, if I say that it's going to taste like roses, you're going to taste roses, you know, because that's just me drinking the other brands going, this doesn't taste like anything that it says. Yeah. It's just kind of like, yeah. And it's light. Yes. I say light in the sense that some people say it tastes watered down, or it tastes like pure vinegar and it burns. Yes. So going back to people that have digestive issues that are trying to add that to their healthy lifestyle to do better, that can be bad, because if you have acid reflux and digestion and you're drinking something that's burning, it kind of turns people off from it.
100%. Right.
So brands in the store, like I said, they will pasteurize. Some will pasteurize. Again, I don't know those brands. And then they can add in a culture, like a probiotic like you would get at the health food store. Is it better than soda? Yes. It is a better option because it doesn't have all that sugar, but it's not considered a raw culture that was truly brewed to make raw kombucha. It has a culture, a probiotic that's beneficial, but it's probably not the raw one in a true ferment. I'm also talking about sugar on the label. Kombucha is one of the biggest questions we get. If you're looking at a label of kombucha, it is always going to show that it has sugar, because kombucha has to have sugar to make it kombucha. So what you want to look at is the sugar section. It's going to say sugar content. That's the first one. And it's going to, some of them are going to say 15, 20 grams, because you know, if you think about 3/4 cups of sugar for a gallon, there's no formula that brings in what fermentation does for that. So they have to put that on the label. The one you really want to take key in is that second added sugar. If there is a number there, then that is they're adding sugar. We never add additional sugar from that first ferment. We're using real organic fruits, roots, and herbs to flavor. So is that sugar? And some people will argue that that is fructose. But it is from a true fruit. Yes. And again, fermented a second and third time, so the culture can eat that sugar and break it down, and we get the beneficial stuff that it makes from there.
That's awesome. Yeah. So I would say, I mean, if you're local to Lakeland or nearby, definitely you want to hit Wendy up for this amazing quality kombucha. But in the store, you said you can vouch based on the label for...
So GT, I think they have several flavors, so you kind of just got to look at that sugar content, because I think some are sweeter than others. Like I said, I haven't looked lately because I kind of have a lot of kombucha that I don't have to do that. To go there. But on the go, I grab if I can find a kombucha, I'm going to drink that before I get just water or something else. Right. So good brands that I remember in the past is Dr. Brew. Do you have any brands that you can think of? Because there's so many.
Publix that the label, and when I taste it, it tastes very fresh. It kind of tastes like yours. I want to say it's the flavor. They sell it like in a big growler, and the flavor is like honeysuckle strawberry.
Okay, Big Booch.
Big Booch.
I think that
Tell
is
me,
it, because it has the growlers. No,
Am
I
I
haven't
right
had
or
theirs.
no?
Yeah, I haven't gotten to look at their label lately, but I do recognize that now that you said it. Yes. and
Sometimes
that-
they have it on sale, and if I see it and it's on sale, I'm like, I might grab some. But it tastes really nice, and it doesn't taste super like overpowering or vinegary. So, maybe my homework is to
look at the label.
To look at the label.
Look at that label, yes.
And see if it says that it's raw and unfiltered.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I would do that, and in the end of the day, they all are still going to be beneficial as a beverage on the go to grab for lunch if you're working. If you can't get to us, of course.
Yes.
I mean, I'm a little partial to ours.
Right.
But those are still by far better choices.
Yes.
It's just about looking at that label and making sure there's not additional sugar to that.
Right.
And then it really goes to like the flavor. Sometimes, like you said, some people were saying that the flavor, it just seemed, I hear it so many times, they're like, yours just doesn't taste watered down like some of the store brands are. And I would think that just has to go into mass production. They're producing for volume.
Yeah.
I one day want to be able to do that, but we're not there. We do produce for, I mean, it's a quality product, and we're really only local. We don't mass distribute or produce. It's only where I physically pick up the keg and bring it to you is where we're at right now.
Yeah, that's so good. I love it. So, tell me, can you speak into, like, are all fermented foods created equal? Like, are we, is kombucha going to give you a bigger bang for your buck? Or, like, would you recommend, the sauerkraut, the kefir, those sorts of things?
So I wouldn't say they're all created equal, but then again, they are. And when you think of fermented food as a whole, as its own, food, then any of them are going to be beneficial. But each one has its own billions of bacteria, different bacterias. Like I have a shirt that says "You had me at lactobacillus." Well, a lot of people are like, "What?" I'm like, so lactobacillus is actually what overgrows in sauerkraut and kimchi that give that sour taste. But what that whole idea is that the salt that you have to put in it kills off any bad bacteria, but lets the lactobacillus overgrow, and then that's what is so beneficial to our gut. Same with pickle, like a true raw fermented pickle is the same lactobacillus. Kombucha, I think, has some lactobacillus, but there's some other bacterias that are gonna contribute to gut health, in a positive way. As well, and like I said, I'm not beginning to know each one of those billions it's just knowing fermented food has been since the beginning of time, and that's how they preserved food. And whether it was fermented or salted, when we talk about that, it preserved it because back then they didn't have refrigeration, and they had to do that for their meats or that's actually how they came up with, their vegetables ended up, they're going to rot if they don't do something to it. So, however, very smart people learned early on to salt their food or put it in vats to let it naturally ferment. And that's where they came, like, fermented foods we learn from now. And I always have said when I'm asked about it, I was like, it's like an art, a forgotten art, but yet very beneficial to us because that was from the beginning. When you think about fermented foods in our diet, the American diet has no fermented foods. But if you think about Germany and Korea, Korea has kimchi. Germany has many fermented things in the sense there's something new that I'm just recently trying is like kvass, which was made from bread. But we even carry some of these other ferments in our tap room that this one is a company that makes it from beets. So it's like red beets and yellow beets, and it's fermented, but it's more of a salty ferment, not sweet like kombucha. And really good, almost what they call a gut tonic. It's some really great small companies that I found that because I can't do it all. I've tried to do sauerkraut, and I do at times, but I can't. It's the labeling and the packaging that really gets to me when I have all my 20 kombucha flavors I'm dealing with. So I do try to bring in some really good products into the tap room that you can add add to your healthy lifestyle
Right.
too. And going back to, you say, are they all the same? Not the same, but in the sense that you were talking about your client that you said just add one a day. That's a great way to start. But some studies are showing that you should eat something fermented at every meal to help. It not only breaks down your food, but it helps you absorb your food better, nutrients. And I've even heard some massive numbers like 9 to 13 fermented foods a day, and I'm like, well, I drink a lot of kombucha, but I don't know if I get that much.
Right.
But if you did, I think we
really
could both
is,
agree.
You don't need a ton.
No,
it really is.
Like a tablespoon, a little tablespoon with a salad.
Yeah.
Put a little bit of sauerkraut on a sandwich. I was talking with Michaela about, your chicken salad. I love your food recipes.
Oh, good.
And adding just a little bit, a jar is going to last.
1 to 2 tablespoons. Yes, gets you a good little little kick that you need.
Yes, and
That's good.
people, adding fermented, whether it's sauerkraut, kimchi, kombucha with each meal, kombucha before a workout, kombucha after workout, because the B vitamins and everything. It is a great. AJ says that to people all the time because people come to her and like, "What do you do?" And she goes, "I drink kombucha." And we're like,
right.
If that's all you have to do to look like her, then
right.
I need to get to this.
Superhuman.
She is. She is. But she does say that. She said, sipping on kombucha is helpful because I know me. Again, I was talking to Michaela before we started that I was like, as soon as you think you got it figured out, and you said that too with having babies and all that, I'm like, in this new stage of my life with perimenopause, menopause, I've talked to you about that, and it's like, you think you have it, and these hormones,
it all changes.
You just don't, it's like something that worked before is not working, and you just go back and got to get to it, but it comes down to fitness and nutrition always we got to come back to, and the very food you're putting in your mouth, is what really gets you through the times where you're just like, what is happening?
You can't lose by focusing on what you're putting in your mouth. It's quality
and moving your body.
Yes, can't lose there. That's so good.
Yes.
So tell me real quick, like for our listeners who are listening, like tell us some of the benefits. We've talked about. We obviously, whenever you hear kombucha, you hear gut health. It helps with your gut health. But like, tell us some of the benefits that, as you have owned this business and really poured yourself into this, that you're like, I know that these fermented foods and this fermented drink help with this. If you are struggling with this, this is why you need to consider adding this in as a normal part of your regimen.
Yes. So we've talked a little bit about why I started doing it. Of course, the biggest one was constipation, and we hear that constantly coming in. Even moms come in going, my child, I've tried all the medicine, I've tried all the things.
That's cool.
And kids are so much more constipated now than ever before. And so they're seeking something like that. So that was a big one. Of course, everyone wants to regulate gut health. All of us at different times in our lives have had a belly ache, stomach ache, going, can it really be that simple to add kombucha, once a day or once in the morning, once in the afternoon? Can it help? And many people come back going, it really can. From acid reflux, we've had people, a lot of, we're at the farmer's market, we get a lot of the people that are running the in the group runs from Black and Brew and stuff like that. They come by, or the races around town, and they'll come in. It's usually one person that drinks it, and the other one's bringing someone with them, and they're like, "Listen, you complain about your acid reflux all the time, and you've got to try this." And this particular customer he drank a cup. And he left. He comes back and he starts feeling growlers. He's like, within a week of drinking kombucha, my acid reflux is better.
Yeah.
And so acid reflux, of course, when I say indigestion, that is just like all of us have eaten and it feels, you feel like you're just swelling up, bloating to just heaviness that people say that helps. The kombucha helps them, whether they're drinking it before, after, or during a meal, has had big benefits. To going back to talking about diabetics, saying that it doesn't spike their blood sugar because they have to be very careful about their beverages other than very simple water, coffee with no sugar, things like that.
Right.
That they're very pleased when they come back,
Right.
seeing that their levels are not being spiked, and
Right.
actually many have come back saying just overall I have more energy. Because they're like, I guess it's because of what you said. It's cleaning up my gut, So anything that you can do to clean up gut health that's going to benefit, like I said, brain, mood, even anxieties. We've had people come in saying that they're when they're consistent, because we all have times that we drink a lot of it, and even me, I even cycle off of it, especially if you are traveling or whatever, I get off of it. But most of them, when they immediately come back and go, I need your kombucha because I've been traveling, I feel that I'm getting sick, and I need to get back on it because I felt it within a day of not having it. I felt the difference. And so a lot of people are able to see those symptoms start to come back when they're not doing that.
Right. And I think that, everything that, as I am constantly a student of nutrition, as I am a coach, I'm always wanting to learn and grow. And everything that you are seeing and hearing in the research is showing that having diverse bacteria in your gut is so important. And so that's one of the reasons why it's important to eat a wide variety of colorful fruits and vegetables and not get stuck on the same thing.
Right.
And so that's probably where kombucha comes in, is it helps to bring in that diversity that like if we're just eating the same things, or even like the standard American diet, like we are deficient.
Right.
Our bodies need more, and they need things that are alive and that have the nutrition in them. And obviously the proof is in the pudding as far as it. Like the testimonials don't lie, like how people feel after adding it in, so.
Well, and the very fact that we all know what the system is supposed to do, it goes in and it should come out, and it be very regular.
Right.
And so a lot of times we talk about that. A lot of people don't want to talk about, the bowel movements or things like that, but it's so important. You can tell so much with that, not only as adults, but babies, like as your babies, the ones you have, and then this new one that when something is not working correctly, or whether there's an allergy, or there's so many things you can learn from that process. And
your digestive health.
And then going through to, like you said, you should eat, your body's going to absorb it, you're going to or break it down, you're going to absorb it, and then you're going to get rid of what what you don't need anymore. That process is so important to remove toxins from the body, to get rid of it's amazing. That's where my background in nursing, when I learned those processes of all the body, to actually doing something that now is helping digestion. I worked on the digestive floor, my first job, and all of the disorders then, which we're talking 28 years ago, is so much worse now. And younger people have the bleeding and the pain and all those things that I'm like, I just love what I do now, knowing every drop is benefiting whoever, even if it's a sample that they walk by in the market, I know it's benefiting them.
That's so good.
So, but maybe not understand it. So we still have a lot of teaching to do. And that's why I thank you so much for having us here, because I can talk all day about it.
Yeah,
Ask my kids and my husband and AJ.
Right.
They're like, that's all she wants to talk about.
Right. I love it. Well, that shows that you're passionate about it.
I am.
Sure thing you could talk about.
Because that means I'm taking care of everybody that way when they drink my kombucha.
That's right. I love it. That's so good. So good. So, if you're local to Lakeland, the tap room is open. It's in Dixieland on South Florida. It's open which days?
So we did have some adjustments. So we're open Wednesday through Saturday, 9 to 3 now.
Okay.
And then Saturday farmers market every Saturday, unless of the bad weather, where they're not 8 to 2. Yeah. And then August they shut down for the year and stuff like that.
And you can get your own little individual cup, or they fill growlers. You can keep in your fridge. You can grab a half gallon.
Yeah, so you can we fill 2 sizes, 32 ounce growlers, which is a quart, and double that as a half gallon, which is 64 ounces. We also love to fill any container you have. If you bring a clean container, figure out how many ounces it is.
Oh,
Or
okay.
some people have growlers from other companies.
Okay.
Even like the big booch, people bring those all the
Okay.
time and fill those up.
Okay.
Just bring them clean and dry, and we can fill them at the
Sure.
farmer's market.
That's
and
cool. Good to know.
and so you get a discounted refill price.
Okay, yeah. So when you buy the
yeah.
growler, it's a little bit more, but if you
Yes.
bring it back for a refill, it's a little
Yes,
less.
yes,
Okay,
we
cool.
love to give those discounted price and recycle.
Exactly.
On the way.
Yeah. I love it. Well, thank you so much,
Thank
Wendy.
you.
For
Love you
being
guys.
here.
Love restoration.
Yes, thank you so much for being here. And that wraps up our episode for today. Make sure that in the show notes you check out Wendy. You guys are on
Yes.
Instagram. You've got a website. You can check out where the
Facebook.
store location is, all those sorts of things. And we will see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.